Welcome to our Faculty Spotlight, a podcast aimed at giving listeners an insider's view into the brilliant minds and expertise of Northwood University's distinguished faculty members. I'm Kristen Stahauer, Academic Vice President and Provost of Northwood University, and it's an honor to host this series in which we explore a wide range of topics from business and economics to entrepreneurship and innovation. Each episode features an in-depth conversation with a professor or professors who share their insights, research, and experiences to educate, inspire, and engage you, our listeners. Today's episode features Jim Hopp, our Department Chair for Entrepreneurship and Franchising Management. Professor Hopp is here to discuss the entrepreneurial mindset. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Kristen. It's great to be here.
Yeah, Jim, could you tell us a little bit about your role at Northwood University and how long you've been at the university?
I can, yeah. So August of 2009, about 2 weeks before class started, I was hired full-time to come in and be the department chair for entrepreneurship. Taking a slight step back, how does that happen so quickly? Actually, in 1999, I was working full-time at Comerica Bank, and I was getting my MBA at Northwood. And a person who was teaching the banking class was unable to teach. And since Comerica was the bank for Northwood, they asked if we had anybody who could teach it. My boss wasn't real happy about it, but he let me. And I got my first taste of teaching a 10-week banking class. And then I was an adjunct in 2006, 7, and 8. A business I was involved in and president of, I didn't need to be there full time. So it all kind of worked out where I could come in and be department chair and teach entrepreneurship. I'm now starting my 15th year this year, which I don't know where the time went. But yeah, I'm department chair for entrepreneurship and franchising management, a program we started in 2014. And it's just been a blast. I absolutely love it. It's something I tell my students all the time, go do something you love because you want to get up every day and want to go do it. Doesn't matter how good the company is or how good the job is unless you love what you're doing.
Yeah, well, it's been a match made in heaven in terms of your changing careers and investing in the future, really, and developing new entrepreneurs. And at Northwood University, we say that entrepreneurship is part of our DNA and it's part of the ecosystem. You're an entrepreneur yourself. Could you share a little bit about that? And then also how important the entrepreneurial environment is to the developing the entrepreneurial mindset?
Absolutely.
Northwood?
So I'll just set it up a little bit. Coming out of undergrad, I worked for a 50-year-old second-generation family business. It was the turkey business. We literally grew them on the farm and took them all the way to the store. I was in the accounting department, but watching, and I knew these folks because it was in my hometown. So I knew the founders, and I knew the second generation, and I was growing up with the third generation. While we were there, we sold out to an $11 billion company called Sara Lee, which was a very interesting place to be in accounting for that. But I really wanted to get into banking. So I switched to Comerica Bank. I had an opportunity to get in there, eventually working up to be a commercial lender. This is where entrepreneurship really hit me because I was working with unbelievable individuals who took the risk, right? Started their own business. And I loved the job and pension, 401k, it was great. But working with these entrepreneurs was really intriguing to me. Then I came to Northwood and got my MBA while I was full-time at the bank, which was and starting a family. That was all interesting.
Multitasker.
Yeah, at least at that time I was. And I ended up leaving the bank and going to a startup that I funded. And they were a couple years in, became their CFO and vice president of finance. And although I wasn't a founder of the business, I did have an ownership piece and absolutely fell in love with plastic thermoforming.
From turkeys to thermoforming.
Yeah, from turkeys to thermoforming. After not that many years, we had an offer that we couldn't refuse. Steal a line from one of my favorite movies, The Godfather. But a company came up and bought us, gave us 5-year contracts, which I made in almost 2 years before they decided they didn't need me anymore, which was a great day for me because we went from entrepreneurial to managerial, which was okay, but I was looking for a new challenge. Went in with 3 contacts that I made, and this goes to the networking piece. Two CPAs I worked with as a banker and a former CPA who was a customer were buying a medical bill review company. Didn't know anything about medical bill review, but jumped on board, became an owner and president of that company. Did that for 2 years, and then we decided it was a unique market, wasn't a lot of growth opportunity. That's when the opportunity came to come to Northwood. And actually, from 2009 to 2015, I was still at the company Mondays and Friday afternoons and teaching in between, which I think added a lot of value to the classroom, because one thing we do at Northwood really well is we teach what we know, but it's not what we know 20 years ago. It's what we know sometimes from last week. And there's nothing like being able to go in and say, oh, by the way, Monday, this happened with my customer. So, and this ties back to the book. So theory is great, but theory without practical use is difficult. So,
well, and your journey just illustrates how universal this skill set is when you talk about the different sectors you've been in with it. I know a frequently asked question of you is, are entrepreneurs born or made? And
yeah.
could you speak to your philosophy?
Yeah, clearly they're not just born. If that was true, I think that we might not have a major. I think now it does require certain characteristics for sure. You cannot be risk averse, completely risk averse. There's risk. We like to think, though, we don't just jump off a cliff and hope something good happens on the way down, right? So one of the things we teach in the class is, how do I understand what risk is, and how do I mitigate risk such that I can take my precious capital and resources, including time, and make them most effective?
Intelligent risk.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and to your point earlier, it's about building a skill set. So again, turkeys, banking, plastic thermoforming, medical bill review, and I missed
And
one.
now,
Currently, I'm also a minority owner in two Big B coffee shops in town. By the way, with a 2012 alum of Northwood University and Entrepreneurship program as my business partner. And I'd like to tell people it's an interesting business because I don't drink coffee. Normally, I would not tell people, go get into a business of something you don't do. But their company culture was awesome. I had met the one founder.
and it's so much more than coffee. Too,
And it's so much more than coffee. Yeah. And it did confirm for me that retail is an area that I really wasn't sure about. And boy, it's a tough business. But it's a neat business. We really take care of our customers. And that's really such a strong focus of what I talk about in the classroom. All entrepreneurship has to be focused on the customer. So again, born, not made. Inventors don't necessarily make great entrepreneurs, right? You have to be both the inventor or innovator and the promoter. Steve Jobs happened to be very good at that, right? He said, we've created this item that's unbelievable and it's going to change the world, and now we need to make sure we get it in everybody's hands. So he didn't just sit back and say, I created something cool. He said, now we got to get it out there. So that's part of what we look at. So it's building a skill set. I like to tell my students or prospects, I can't teach you passion. I can't teach you the idea. But what we can do is help you build a skill set that will allow you to take your passion and your idea and turn it into a business.
Well, I know you're all about the students, and I know you're even, as we were talking about this, you didn't want to speak about yourself, but about our students.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
would love for you to showcase some of the success stories of students who may have had ideas, but you helped them transform those dreams into reality.
Yeah, I hope we got about an hour and a half for this podcast because I've got a lot now. I'll cut it back a little bit, but there's some students I would like to spotlight. The first one is Luke Marion.
We could bring you back, Jim.
We might have to. There's
so
many special kids that have come through, and I don't want to leave anybody out. But Luke Marion spent a year at community college, and he came to Northwood. And Luke had a well-established YouTube channel called Am I Gardener. He learned gardening from his grandparents and his parents. His dad was an entrepreneurial photographer. And he was, making money off this YouTube channel and doing quite well. He's very heavily followed.
And this is quite a few years ago.
This was, quite a few years ago. And but in our classroom, we do projects. And I think the special part about the projects in entrepreneurship is we allow the student to do it on their idea, their concept. Could be a family business, could be an idea, it could be something they're already doing. When you get a project that just is a grade, you do it for the grade. When you get a project that actually helps you get to the next step of what you want to do in life.
Yeah, it's not just academic for them.
Great.
It's
and
working on making their dream a reality in class.
Yep. And Luke came up to me and he said, can I, do you think I could run Am I Gardener through this project? And I said, well, sure, why not? Let's see if it's, so he did that. He also pitched in our fall pitch competition twice, developed his own all natural fertilizer. He pitched that one year. And he was able to win and use that money to help build the business. Fast forward, so he's out of Port Huron, but recently moved his business to St. Clair. He quintupled the size of his facility, added 4 more high-speed sorting seed machines, and has 20 plus employees and sold, I think, somewhere between 6 and 7 million seed packets. So he continues to do the videos. He has the seed business. He's got the fertilizer business. He's an incredible promoter. And I haven't visited his new spot yet. I've been to the other one several times. He's got a little greenhouse next to it, which of course is just a great fit. So, Luke Marion, 2016 grad of the entrepreneurship program, incredible. Another student was one of his best friends here, Peter Leonard. And Peter spent a year at another university and transferred up here. So we got him for 3 years as well. Peter, very quiet, but super intelligent, right? Kind of knew what he wanted, had already started 3 businesses before he came here. So certainly can't take credit for that, but what he was able to do with those businesses through the projects again, he was the Mac Genius, where he basically worked on Apple computers for people. He was 50-50 with his dad on a coffee franchise out in Denver called Dasbog, which was pretty interesting. And then he started MyWorks. And MyWorks is a it's a software business. And what he did is he created software which marries up e-commerce with like QuickBooks. So it allows e-commerce businesses to properly manage their businesses from a finance perspective. Because a lot of times people get in the e-business, but they don't know what to do with the numbers, sales tax, all the other things. And so, he's down in Fort Worth, Texas. And then very interestingly, he's got a young family. He was growing this business. He was scaling it, but he really didn't know if he could scale it without missing family time, and was able to sell the business to SaaS last year. And now he stays on to run the business, but he has a family life balance. And since it was published, I can say it, he sold it for 7 figures, which is pretty impressive for a 26-year-old. So those 2 gentlemen, fantastic.
Those are truly inspirational stories.
They are. I mean, and I'm still in contact with these guys. I sort of joke that I get to live vicariously through these guys and watching what they've been doing. It's just been phenomenal. Caitlin Cole is someone I have to talk about, because everybody at Northwood knew Caitlin because she was our graphic designer and photographer while she was on campus. She found the love of photography from her father. And there's a theme that you're going to hear coming through here, and we'll talk about towards the end when we talk about what drives people to entrepreneurship. But photography's been her passion. She was a sideline reporter for the Detroit Lions. She's done Michigan games. Spent a year at West Virginia University as her graphic artist. She's now in a high-end photography, wedding, and branding photography business out of Grand Rapids, but she'll go anywhere. And she just does phenomenal work. She won the Minor League Baseball Picture of the Year, which was an awesome shot from in the dugout, looking out with a thunderstorm in the background of the home run contest here at Loons Stadium. It was a phenomenal picture, and she is just tremendous. And then, well, I'm going to keep going until you tell me to stop, but Allison Gustafson, and now she just got married, so I think it's McGrain, and both of them are NU grads. Allison had Glambition when she was, I think, 12 or 14. She took all natural products and made her own makeup and beauty products. And now she has Applewood Candle Company, which makes candles which are pet friendly. So pets are a big deal in her life. And so she wanted to make a candle that was pet friendly.
What makes a candle pet friendly?
I don't know.
I
should know the answer to that. Right?
We'll go online and
we're going to
find out.
have Allison come in and be on the podcast.
Great idea.
Yeah, and I don't know if it goes out, or I don't know. Maybe it's the smell of their. I don't know. That's a great question. Now I got to find out.
So she founded this candle company, and it's quite successful as well.
Yeah, she's doing great with it. And
serial entrepreneurs at very young ages too.
Yeah, yes. One thing I've seen is the ones that pop to the top of the list all started around 12, 13, 14, 15. Now you might say, well, born not made. Well, certainly it's in their DNA, right? They have the characteristics that are important. But the one theme that I see in all of those and many more are passion, right? So if you want, we talk about the entrepreneurial mindset. I believe I don't want to say have to. That's too definitive. It's really good to have passion for what you're doing, right? No one can have your passion. No one's going to take your product to market. All the best salespeople in the world won't have the passion you have behind your product. So Luke with M.I. Gardner and his love for gardening, which still runs through him today. Allison, really for her use of natural products and being kind of earth friendly, if you will, pet friendly especially. Caitlin with her absolute love for photography and just taking it beyond probably where she could see it going. And Peter quietly behind the scenes, right, saying, boy, it'd be great if we had software that would match this up and make companies so much more successful. And of course, the e-commerce
recognizing a need, really, isn't it? That's
yes.
not being filled.
Yes, absolutely.
Or filled well.
Yeah. And so, one of the things that was, when we think about key elements of entrepreneurship, I put at the top of the list customer focused. So you can Google it and you'll find all kinds of things. But it was interesting. Customer focus didn't seem to come to the top of the list, but to me it has to be. I call myself a relationship guy, right? So Amazon's been successful without creating relationships, right? But they're one of the few. Most businesses, you need to create a personal relationship with the customer. It's so much harder for them to switch, right? If you've got a personal relationship, it's more meaningful. I use Chick-fil-A a lot, right? Because they're a fast food restaurant that seems to make a human connection with their customers. And it's corny, but my pleasure with the smile, right? It makes a difference to people, right? They're super helpful. I always observe when I go into any place, I look at staffing, I look at how they function. I'm kind of weird that way. My kids are like, Dad, why do you do that? It's just who I am. They always seem overstaffed, but it's so effective. And if I see a line of 20 cars, I'll get in that line because I know how quickly they're going to get me through. And that, that just makes a huge difference. So customer focused is a huge part of the entrepreneurial mindset, because if you're not customer focused, you're not likely going to be successful. So it could be great for you, something you really think is fantastic, but it's got to be, you have to be thinking about the customer to be successful, I think, in the long run.
Yeah. Are there other examples of startups that you've helped students with?
Yeah, lots of them. Jack Ertley. Jack Ertley is well known on our campus because he was the first chair for our automotive auto show, non-automotive major chair of the auto show. Then he didn't get to have it because it was in 2020, but super impressive young man. Started his landscaping business by what a lot of my students do, mowing lawns and then raking leaves and then saying, maybe I can do something with landscaping. And today has multiple crews. His job today at Gertley Landscaping is basically going out, bidding the jobs, being the creative side of it, and hiring people to do the heavy work. But he started this business, it might have been middle school, but it was definitely high school, continued to run it while he was here. He and I had a deal because it's when you teach entrepreneurship, the kids have to do it all the time. And so if he was in class and he had a call coming in, he would excuse himself to go out into the hall and take the call. A lot of people wouldn't do that, but Jack had a business to run while he was learning. And from my standpoint, you can't stop progress. And so I understood, we had an understanding, right? Go take care of that. You got to run your business and then get back in here and we'll continue to learn together. But Jack was phenomenal, is phenomenal, I shouldn't say was, is phenomenal down in the Northville area. But the things he did, he was on fashion show, auto show. So he really showed a breadth of wanting to understand things. Yes, he had a landscaping business, but for him, it was really about leadership, right? Take leadership roles, learn, grow, put yourself in a position when another opportunity comes along, right? You're ready to jump on it.
What a great illustration of expanding his skill set while he was here, and really the other examples did too. Could you maybe share a bit about the basic business skills that a student can develop while at Northwood University that help them then convert their passion into great success?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I love is you're going to get your core courses, right? You're going to get accounting. Not everybody likes accounting, but I was an accounting major.
You love it.
CPA, so I love it. But you're going to get your accounting, your marketing, your management, your finance. You're going to get those base pieces. And then we have over 20 majors to take that base and the economics piece. Don't want to miss economics. I know it's a social science, but I consider it to be a huge business skill. It's the base of everything that we know about business, supply, demand. It's taking those base pieces and then going, what am I really interested in? What do I think would be best fit for me? And then expanding on that. One of the areas where we see that really come into play is our fall pitch competition. In our fall pitch competition, it's not just entrepreneurship students. It's students from 5, 6, 7 different majors saying, well, I'm a finance major, but I got this idea. Yeah, absolutely. We work with them. We help coach them. We get them set up for success. And then we give them 5 minutes. And one of the things I love about the 5 minutes.
Too. There's coaching inside and outside the classroom.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's right here at the Idea Center. Right here at the Idea Center. We have the students come down and we work with them. We use the business model canvas as part of it. And then one of my favorite parts is it's a 5-minute pitch. And to a person, well, that's not enough time. That's correct. That's not enough time. So what you have to figure out is, what can I say in 5 minutes? And my goals, I always tell them, your goal should be to get the judges to the point where they say, I want to come have lunch with you and hear more about this. You cannot tell everybody in 5 minutes.
What's the hook, right?
Yes, exactly. So it's got to be interesting enough. And if it's so complicated that 4 minutes of the 5 is explaining the product, you're never going to get to the other important pieces. It's a great learning tool, a fantastic learning tool for students from all majors who can now take those skills, the speech class, all of those things, and sort of throw it into, what can I say in 5 minutes that's going to get people interested?
Because an entrepreneur needs to be able to do it all, really.
They really do. I think that, to me, that's my favorite part. So in entrepreneurship, we have an entrepreneurial marketing class, an entrepreneurial finance class, a distribution strategies class. It's taking those base skills and saying, okay, now you don't have a marketing department. What do? You are the marketing department. Word of mouth, social media. And I also tell me, since social media is a great answer, except it's not enough. What social media are you going to use? Because it goes back to, who's my customer base? So if you don't understand
and how do you measure the effectiveness, right? What are the metrics?
Which I always think is a real problem, right? Because it's so hard. Am I effective? Is it effective? Do I need to spend it? But social media allows you to get out there and really target, right? I mean, how often have you talked about something and all of a sudden your phone starts coming up with these very interesting ads for the things you were talking about? So, but these students get that. They really do understand that. But we also talk about, don't just rely on social media, right? That's a part of it. So it's really taking those base skills and then applying it to what you're interested in, whether it's sports management, fashion, operations, supply chain, right? All of those base things apply, and then you get to go into that specialty and hopefully do what you really love. I'm privileged. I teach in a major, right? My students want to be in class. Trust me, I totally get that and love it, right? But I also talk to them about the core courses, right? And email is important.
And help make them relevant, really, don't you?
Yeah, and so you might not like English, but man, it's really important, right? All of those classes come together. What I like to talk about is it's a building block. So right, freshman year, step 1. Sometimes the students go, well, we talked about that. Yep, now we're going to talk about it in more depth. Now we're going to talk about how it applies here, not just the term, right? Because it builds. And hopefully when they leave here, and I always tell students, if you leave here and the only thing added to your resume is graduated Northwood BBA, that's not enough, right? Your resume has to say, I've done these things. I was on the auto show. I was in fashion show. I was at the Stafford dinner, right? All these really cool opportunities. And we talk about Northwood being entrepreneurial. This is where we see it, right? Student-based ventures, student-based opportunities where they get to enhance their skill set so that when they go into the world, and well, they're already in it when they're here,
exactly,
but that they're effective and they're prepared for the challenge. One thing I tell my students is failure is part of entrepreneurship. We live in a society, don't fail. We want you to fail from the perspective.
It's about learning, though, isn't it?
If you're not failing, you're not trying.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, fail in the classroom so that you don't fail later when you're actually asking somebody for real money.
I love that.
Right? So build that skill set, build the confidence level, that will set you up for success in the future.
So I have a quick question for you about what the Northwood idea means to you. Very short. Okay. What's your short answer for that, Jim?
So short answers aren't good for me, but I'll try. So the Northwood idea to me is, honestly, I think I've lived the Northwood idea. And so when I look at the free market and the understanding of what free enterprise means, it's, my dad was a school teacher who said, if you guys want to teach, you can go to teaching. But he said, really find what you love, find your passion. He says business has a lot of opportunity. I was able to get into accounting, and then all through my career working all these different businesses and different industries. And really, I like to tell people, I feel like I've created a skill set that I can apply anywhere. And I think that's, to me, that's the opportunities are where free enterprise comes into play. Taking the risk, taking the opportunities, believing that competition is actually good, right? So I invite competition. I think I'm better than you. Come on, let's go. You'll make me better. I better stop there. I'm not going to, that won't be a short answer. So
Well,
for me, that's what the Northwood idea and free enterprise and I'm sorry, personal responsibility. I can't not mention that. We live in a society that wants to blame everybody. My entrepreneurial students don't do that, right? They know that their future is in their hands, right? When you work for yourself, the only person that can fire you is you. Now,
I love
if
that.
if you deserve that, then fire yourself. But right, so
And some entrepreneurs do is they identify their next venture.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. They turn it over.
So unfortunately, Jim, our time is up.
Oh, no. We better set several more of these.
I think we could continue the conversation, and I really want to thank you for all that you do. You talked about being customer centric. You are student centric, and you keep students at the center of all that you do, and your examples of how you've helped our students really create their own success has been so very powerful.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I live vicariously through their successes.
Well,
so it's great.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you having me on. This has been fantastic, and it's easy to talk about these students and what we're doing at Northwood and what they're doing out in the world. So.
Well, and you mentioned how important it is to follow your passion and for our students to follow their passion, and we're blessed that you've followed your passion here as a faculty member at Northwood University, creating the next generation of entrepreneurs. We'd like to thank our listeners and our viewers for joining our podcast. And as we bridge the gap between academics and industry and provide valuable insights into the world of business and beyond. Subscribe now to stay informed and be inspired by the voices shaping the future at Northwood University. And make sure to follow us at Northwood U on social media. Thanks again to our guest today, Jim Hobb.
Thank you.